Friday and I've got a bit of time. I am going to be making a cauliflower crust pizza. So I did get a very large head of cauliflower and I put it through the food processor to rice it, and I then put that into 8-ounce bags and froze it. So that's a little while ago. It's frozen very quickly. I've got 2 of those 8-ounce bags out. So I've got 1 pound of cauliflower rice here. The cauliflower head actually made 2 pounds of rice. Now what I'm doing here then is it's been thawed and it's being heated in the skillet here on a medium light, and I'm just going to be stirring it for a little while, and it's going to take about 10 to 15 minutes to dry out this cauliflower, get all the moisture moved away. By the way, I think I should point out, this is my real kitchen, okay? I haven't borrowed anyone else's house to do this. Okay, so we're 5 minutes in at this point. There is moisture rising from this. It's going to take quite a bit longer. It's probably going to take quite a bit longer than I thought. I like this recipe that I found because most of the other recipes involved heating in the riced cauliflower in the oven and then squeezing the water out, and I thought this seemed simpler, but it may well take a bit longer than I thought because it's taking a little while to dry the moisture off. I've got to be careful. I've got to do it slowly because I'm not trying to cook the cauliflower at the moment. I'm just trying to keep it warm and trying to get the moisture out of it. I'll be back shortly. So another 5 minutes on. It's looking and feeling quite a lot drier, but it's not there yet. It seems to be getting a bit too hot. I do not want it to cook. Well, it's going to cook a bit, but I don't want it to start going golden at all. Just really want it to stay white because I've got to have enough cookability. That's a word, isn't it? Cookability. There's got to be enough cookability in it for me to be able to bake it in the oven. Speaking of baking in the oven, I got one of these round pizza things. I don't know what you call them. What do you call these things? It's a pizza thing. I sprayed it with olive oil, and by the way, I don't use an aerosol spray. I have one of these hand pumped sprays. You fill it a third full with olive oil, or actually it's avocado oil I've got in there, beg your pardon. So it's I've sprayed it with that. Before I do actually finish making the pizza crust to put on here, I will spray the surface of the parchment paper also with oil, and between it the spray of the oil and the parchment paper should, between the two things, stop the pizza from sticking. And I should point out that the oven is warming up. It's warming up to 400 degrees. Actually, it has already beeped to tell me it's there, but I'm not ready yet for it, so it'll just stay there until I am ready. So there are 2 ingredients to add to bind this together, to the crust together. One of them is a beaten egg, and the other is a cupful of Parmesan cheese, grated Parmesan cheese. The recipe says you should grate your own if possible. I have cheated. I have bought grated Parmesan cheese. So with the heat still on medium, I'm putting the Parmesan cheese in, and I now have to stir it in fully and move it around and keep stirring until the Parmesan cheese has all melted and started to bind the cauliflower together. Now let me just turn this off because I need 2 hands on this, and I'll be back shortly. Now you can see I've taken this off the heat, and as I move it around you can see the Parmesan cheese is melting. It's beginning to bind this together. Taking it off the heat, I'm now going to add the beaten egg, and that's really got to be mixed in very well. I'll be back in a moment. Okay, so the egg has now been mixed in and everything is ready now for putting onto the pizza thingy. You know, you can't get around the fact that making a cauliflower crust is pretty time consuming and labor intensive. It's not, you know, your straightforward type of pizza crust. It's not easy to make, but you know, we're getting there, and I think it's going to be pretty good. when it's ready. I'm just going to spread that out now, and I'll show you when it's completely in on the pizza what's it and completely spread out. There it is, spread out. By the way, I didn't tell you about seasonings. When I was mixing it up, the recipe that I've been using calls for putting in 1/4 teaspoon of onion powder and 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. Since the last time I had flu, my taste buds seem to have... I used to love onion flavour things, but I'm less keen on them now, so I haven't actually put those seasonings in. Instead, I've put in 1/4 teaspoon into the oven now. I have the oven on 400 degrees Fahrenheit. Do your own math, I can't do it off the top of my head what that would be in Celsius. I always used to do temperatures for ovens, by the way, in gas marks, because I always preferred a natural gas powered oven. But there we go, it's in there now, it's on the middle shelf. Let's close that up and set the timer for 20 minutes. And so we'll come back in 20 minutes and see how it looks then. There we go. Okay, so the 20 minutes are now up, and we're going to get the crust out of the oven. Oh, that looks pretty good. It started to brown. It has not browned too much, so that looks really good. So I'm leaving the oven on because we now have to put the toppings on and see where we go from there. I need both hands, so I'm just going to pause the video again, and then we'll be straight back when I've put some trimmings on. So the first job that I'm doing is putting tomato paste on here. I know some people say marinara sauce would be a good thing to do, but I'm just putting on ordinary tomato paste because I'm trying to keep down the amount of sugar to a minimum. Now, there's obviously no actual added sugar, but tomatoes are a fruit. They do have some native sugar in them. So we look at this, see, it has 6 grams of carbohydrates per serving. Now it's not going to be the 2 tablespoon serving, it's going to be quite a bit less than that, probably about a tablespoon altogether. So it's likely to be about 3 grams of carbohydrates, of which 2 grams then will be fruit sugars from the tomatoes. Let me return to spreading that, and then we'll get on with the cheese and salami. So we're now going to put cheese on. I'm using a blend. There's no doubt that mozzarella is probably the best for putting on pizza, easiest to melt. This is a blend with cheddar because, you know, mozzarella is just tasteless. And so that's why I'm putting this blend. And again, I'm cheating by having ready grated cheese. Okay, I know some people have suggested that we should ban this ready shredded cheese so that we can make America great again. And with that silly joke, let me just finish this off and then we'll put some pepperoni on. Okay, there we go, we've covered the pizza with cheese. It's possible that I've put too much on there, I don't know, but let's just scatter some of the pepperoni around. It's easy to overdo this. I did wonder about making a bacon pizza, which would have been really nice, but I decided I didn't want to do the extra cooking. I am sort of trying to keep the amount of stuff that I'm doing down here to a minimum. I think if I was making this for other people, I might put some extra pepperoni on, but I am going to just limit the amount that I put on there. And it's not really accurate as far as doing slices is concerned. But there we go. I've got that in place. Interestingly enough, the pizza thingy, because that is the technical term, it's known as a pizza thingy, that is now cold to the touch. This is going back into the oven blast of hot air in my face. So it's going back in the oven for an extra 10 minutes, at which point everything should be ready for me to eat. There we go. So let's get the pizza out. It looks good. I think the crust may not be as solid as it should have been. Maybe I need next time to do a little bit more of that long-term heating to drive away the moisture. But you know, I have taken shortcuts after that. The sorting out the crust itself was at least an hour's work, probably a bit more. And remember, I'd already pre-riced the cauliflower, which is part of the process, but I'd already done that a couple of days ago and then put it in the freezer. It does, however, look pretty good. So let me get my pizza cutter on this. It's probably something I may have to do two-handed in a minute, but let's just see. Now I think I can do this successfully. There we go. It cuts through this cauliflower crust much more easily than through a normal crust, but that's probably because it's soft. Okay, so again, there's a lesson to be learned there. Don't do it this soft in future. I'm going to get a scoop to scoop this up properly. I can't really scoop it with that, but we'll try it in just a moment. Okay, here we go. We've cut 2 pieces of pizza out there. It looks a bit messy, so the cauliflower crust is clearly not as solid as it should have been, but we'll remember that next time. This is a little bit of tomato ketchup. It is, again, I've seen recipes for doing this, and it's suggested that, you know, even in this recipe they had a link to another recipe to make your own. But you know, there's a limit to how much I can do in one go. This is Heinz tomato ketchup, no sugar added, so that on the back we see that there is only 1 gram per serving of carbohydrates, and that's no sugars. There's just a little bit of the carbohydrates, given that tomatoes are a fruit. Okay, there it is. I am just going to taste that. Here we go then. I can't pick it up like you really should a pizza, again because of the crust being a little soggy, but let's try. The taste is excellent. Some of the cauliflower type taste of the crust has been mitigated by the Italian seasoning and the Parmesan cheese. Can't really taste egg in it, but I mean that was a good binder together. So just to summarize, what we've done there is we've got it's been riced cauliflower. I used 1 pound of riced cauliflower taken from a cauliflower head that was 2 pounds in weight. And so we dried that riced cauliflower out, heating on a skillet, medium heat. The recipe said 10 minutes. I did it for about 30 minutes. Then we added a cupful of grated Parmesan cheese. Again, the recipe said do your own, but I've cheated because doing so much effort with the cauliflower, I wanted to cut other corners. So you stir that up until the Parmesan's melted, and that's beginning to bind the stuff together. 1 beaten egg completes the binding. You've then got a dough. I spread the dough on the prepared pizza pan. That's apparently what you call it, pizza pan. So I did that. Remember, the pizza pan was sprayed with a bit of oil, covered with parchment paper, which I cut around, and then I sprayed the parchment paper. I then squashed the dough onto that, patted it out to make a circle, and then we covered it with a grated mixed cheese, and I used a pepperoni topping. And there it is. It was 20 minutes to bake the crust first, I should have said, before we put the cheese on. 20 minutes to bake the crust, and then once the cheese was on and the pepperoni was on, a further 10 minutes. All that was done at 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And we've got a very tasty pizza, which I've enjoyed doing. And there you go. It's not my recipe. I'll put a link in the completed video so that you can see where it is. I've obviously just adapted the recipe, but it is not my recipe. In fact, perhaps I should just quickly see if I can look this up, if I've still got the recipe up. Yes, I have, because I've got it saved on Pinterest. So it's a website called Sugar Free Mom. Sugar Free Mom. And yeah, she's done that. In fact, she even suggests doing twice the amount of pizza crust and then baking one blind and simply wrapping it and putting it in the freezer. And I think probably I'll try and do that next time. But it's a learning experience. That drying out of the cauliflower is going to have to take longer than I did. It was beginning to cook as well towards the end, so presumably I need it on a lower heat. I had it on... the ring was on number 7. Perhaps I should do it on a 5 or 6 and just do it for a very long time indeed. But at least I didn't have any of the messy squeezing out of water that I've seen mentioned in so many recipes. So it's a good recipe and a very, very tasty pizza.